Hey fam, welcome back to Queer History No One Talks About. This is part 6, and I promise you, these stories are gonna live in your chest and change the way you see yourself. We're talking sacred gender in Hawaii, queer mystics in Persia, gender non-conforming royalty, Aztec goddesses of lust and forgiveness, and a Roman emperor who made his lover a literal god. So hit subscribe, drop it in the comments, and let's reclaim what's always been ours. The Mahū of Hawaii, the third gender. They tried to erase, before colonizers set foot on Hawaiian soil, there was a sacred gender identity, Mahū. Mahū people, often assigned male or female at birth, held space between and beyond the binary. They weren't mocked, they were revered as healers, hula masters, teachers, and wisdom keepers. Ancient chants and oral traditions recognize Mahū as essential to spiritual and cultural life. But when Christian missionaries arrived, they brought Western binaries, gender shame, and anti-queer ideologies. Suddenly, the Mahū were no longer sacred, they were sinful, but they never disappeared. And today, many Mahū people are rising again, reclaiming their place with pride. Their existence is proof. Queerness was never foreign to indigenous cultures. Colonization was. Rumi and Shams, queer mysticism in 13th century Persia. Let's talk about love beyond labels. Rumi? Yes, that Rumi, the beloved Sufi poet of divine love, ecstasy, and enlightenment, was deeply connected to a man named Shams of Tabriz. Their bond? Transformative, intimate, possibly romantic, definitely spiritual. Rumi wrote over 40,000 verses after meeting Shams, verses filled with longing, desire, and sacred union. He doesn't describe gender, he describes the soul. Lines like, I want to see you, know your voice, recognize you when you first come round the corner. Don't read like distant theology, they read like queer love. In a time and place where love could be sacred, genderless, and metaphysical, Rumi's work gave us a blueprint for queer spirituality centuries ago. Queen Christina of Sweden, the gender-diverse royal rebel born in 1626 and raised as a king in waiting, Queen Christina of Sweden flipped every gender script imaginable. She wore masculine clothes, refused to marry, had passionate relationships with women, and eventually abdicated the throne because she didn't want to be confined by it. Historians couldn't label her. Some said she was eccentric. Others hinted at queerness. But Christina lived outside the binary long before the word even existed. She once said, I am neither man nor woman. I am what I am. She rejected the life expected of her, and instead became an intellectual wanderer, a free thinker, and a queer trailblazer whose story is still being rediscovered. Let's say it together. Christina of Sweden was non-binary royalty, and she chose freedom. Tlazolteotl, the Aztec goddess of queer desire and cleansing in ancient Mesoamerica, there was a deity named Tlazolteotl, the goddess of lust, purification, and confession. She held all the things society called sin and turned them into sacred release. She was worshipped by people who carried shame, guilt, desire, and she cleansed them with compassion. Some scholars believe her rituals were tied to queer and trans experiences, erotic desires, and gender-diverse identities. She didn't ask you to repress yourself. She asked you to be honest and to bring your truth to the altar. Tlazolteotl represents a divine space where queerness and healing coexist. She reminds us that queer sexuality was not always condemned, it was worshipped. Hadrian and Antinous, the Roman emperor who made his lover a god. Now this is gay history with divine drama. Emperor Hadrian, ruler of Rome in the 2nd century, was passionately in love with a young man named Antinous. They traveled together across the empire. They were inseparable. But when Antinous mysteriously drowned in the Nile, Hadrian was devastated and responded by deifying him. Yes, he made Antinous a god. Temples were built, cities were renamed, coins were minted with his face. Hadrian worshipped Antinous publicly with no apology. This wasn't secret. It was state-sanctioned queer grief and divine love. Imagine that today, a world leader turning queer love into legend. So what did today's stories reveal? That queer people have been healers, poets, royals, rebels, and gods. That our love has been holy. Our identities have been celebrated, and our existence has always been deeply, defiantly divine. These aren't just stories, they are reminders that who you are has always existed in every corner of this earth. So drop a comment and tell me which story cracked you open the most. Subscribe for more, and never forget, you are the continuation of something sacred, and we're just getting started.